This conference will now be recorded.
Good morning, everybody. Is it audible to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Pavan? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So I think these classes are for your revision only. If you are unable to understand any topic or anything, you can ask me. And for future, like this is September month, no? For October month, you people specifically need any topics for your final exams, because usually you may have internal examinations in December month and final exam as usual like January and February practicals. So if you want any specific topics in the pediatrics, you can ask me, Pavan. Ask other people to give the topics to you, then you can represent to me. So today I'm taking the class on congestive heart failure. Is already, I think, already dealt for you. Is it in the past? It was over or not? Congestive heart failure topic.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. But before starting, I just want to ask some questions from your batch. Is anybody going to tell me about roll number? I will specifically ask the numbers. Roll number 10, present or absent? Roll number 10. Roll number 10, present or absent? 11. Roll number 11. 17. Roll number 17. Or otherwise marked as absent only. Roll number 11, 17. Roll number 5.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell me about the causes, some causes, whatever you can remember? Name some causes of congestive heart failure in children. You can tell causes in neonates or infants or young children. Any few causes. What could be the causes for congestive heart failure in a neonate, infants, and young children?
Ma'am, enlargement of the heart,
What do you call that
arrhythmia,
condition?
cardiomegaly.
Arrhythmias, okay. What do you call it? Enlargement of the heart means cardiomyopathy.
Cardiomegaly. Yes, ma'am.
Cardiomegaly is the consequence, it's not the cause. Cardiomyopathy, we call as dilated cardiomyopathy. Okay.
Dilated cardiomyopathy. Ma'am, heart valve disease.
Okay. Can you name
Cardiac
some metabolic causes?
arrhythmias.
Metabolic causes. Some metabolic causes
Anemia.
also can manifest. Okay, that's symptomological cause. Severe anemia, not simple anemia. Okay, severe anemia. Metabolic
anemia.
causes.
Ma'am, excessive hemorrhage, high blood pressure, hypertension, chronic
Okay.
lung disease.
Metabolic causes. Can you name some metabolic causes can cause congestive heart failure in newborn? Metabolic.
Ma'am,
Metabolic means
hyperkalemia.
Hyperkalemia. Okay. By causing arrhythmias, it can cause congestive heart
Yes,
failure.
ma'am.
Any other metabolic condition cause congestive heart failure? Roll number 10, absent. Okay. Roll number 7. Who is roll number 7? Roll number 7. 9. Roll number
Ma'am,
9.
hypokalemia also.
Yes, ma'am.
Name some metabolic causes of congestive heart failure in newborn.
Hypoglycemia, ma'am.
Good. Hypoglycemia. Any other condition?
Hypocalcemia also, ma'am.
Good. Good. What is your name?
Divya, ma'am.
Good. So these are some of the metabolic causes, because rare. Usually we won't remember this, but in newborn, even this hypocalcemia, hypoglycemia can cause congestive heart failure. Even upper respiratory tract obstruction also can cause congestive heart failure. Okay. Roll number 50. Roll number 50. Present or absent? 50. 51. Roll number 51. 52. Roll number 52. 53. 54.
Ma'am.
Roll number?
Hello. 54, ma'am.
Hello? 54. Okay.
Ma'am, 54, ma'am.
Which of congestive heart failure? 54. Roll number
Aortic
54. Symptoms of
stenosis.
symptoms. I am asking symptoms of congestive heart failure.
Peripheral
In
edema. Hepatomegaly.
Hepatomegaly is a sign. Symptoms means how they will come to you, or how the mother or grandmother will bring the child to you.
Breathlessness.
Breathlessness. Okay. Anything else, especially less than 1 year?
Failure to
Specific
thrive.
complaints? Failure to thrive. Good. Anything else?
Continuous crying, ma'am. Baby.
Irritability,
Irritability.
they will have Sacras cycle. Okay, I will continue with my topic because most of you are unable to answer, only few are answering. So I will repeat this topic. So compulsory, all of you should know what is the definition of congestive heart failure. It's a clinical syndrome of varied etiology. Causes are so many. I will list out those causes. In newborn, most common causes, what are the causes in infants and older children, like that. Also, it's a clinical syndrome of varied etiology in which the heart is unable to pump enough blood to meet the metabolic demands of the body, resulting in systemic and pulmonary vascular congestion. So it's a failure of the heart, or unable to pump the enough blood to meet the metabolic needs. Metabolic needs means giving oxygen and blood circulation and removing the carbon dioxide from the body. So this will be not done with the heart. So then it called as heart failure. It may be, how many types of congestive heart failure may be there again? Depending upon the whether it's pumping mechanism is defective or receiving of the blood is defective, we can again divide it into systolic heart failure and diastolic heart failure. In case of systolic heart failure, heart is unable to propel the blood into the aorta. That is called systolic heart failure. Diastolic heart failure may inadequate amount of blood. So it may be systolic or diastolic failure, congestive heart failure may be. And in case of diastolic heart failure, it is recognized by clinical features of heart failure, like evidence of increased filling pressures. So diastolic means it's unable to receive the blood, sufficient blood. So it will be manifested with increased filling pressures with preserved systolic function, and sometimes even the cardiac output will be normal, in especially diastolic heart failure. Coming to the causes, most common causes in pediatric age group are congenital heart disease will be the first most common causes for congestive heart failure in infants and young children. So among those, shunt lesions will be the common, like ventricular septal defect, patent ductus arteriosus, endocardial cushion defects, ASD, that is atrial septal defect, arteriovenous malformation, including large hemangiomas, where arteriovenous malformations will be there. That also can lead to congestive heart failure. Next, coming to the obstructive lesions. Obstructive lesions again, outflow obstructions and inflow obstructions. So outflow obstructions means at the level of the aorta and pulmonary arteries. So aortic atresia, aortic stenosis, pulmonary atresia and pulmonary stenosis, and co-occlusion of aorta, these are the outflow obstruction lesions which can manifest with congestive heart failure. Inflow obstruction means mitral stenosis and cor triatrium. That means 3 atria will be there in the heart, like in case of, sometimes there will be membranous partition in the right atrium or maybe in the left atrium. So that is called as cor triatrium. It's a very rare congenital malformation. And tricuspid stenosis or atresia. These are the inflow obstructions which can these are rare, but common ones are shunt lesions like VSD, PDA, AE, endocardial cushion defects, and arteriovenous malformations. Next, other rare congenital complex structural heart lesions like hypoplastic left heart syndrome. It's a condition where even it can manifest even in the first 24 to 48 hours of the life. Hypoplastic left heart syndrome. It's an emergency. They have to tackle surgically immediately, otherwise mortality will be very high. Next, transposition of great arteries, otherwise called as TGA, transposition of great arteries. Single ventricle without PS. With PS, it also will have obstruction. So without PS, early age, they will manifest with congestive heart failure. Next, truncus arteriosus, aortopulmonary window, total anonymous pulmonary venous dryness. These are the congenital complex structural heart diseases manifest with congestive heart failure in the earliest stage. That means before 1 week of age itself. But in case of PDA, VSD, they will manifest after some age, like they usually around what age they will manifest? VSD and PDA after how many weeks? After 4 weeks only, around 6 to 8 weeks, when the pulmonary vascular resistance decreases more than the systemic vascular resistance, then the left to right shunt will be more, and this leads to congestion and leading to congestive heart failure. So that's why VSD won't manifest before 6 weeks of age. But hypoplastic left heart syndrome, transfusion of dead arteries, single ventricle without PS, all can manifest in the newborn period and even first 1 week of life. This is the very important note. All of you should remember that's very rare, uncommon causes of congestive heart failure in infancy and newborns. These are upper, as I told you previously, upper respiratory tract obstruction. If untreated, it can lead to congestive heart failure without any congenital heart malformation. Only simple upper respiratory tract obstruction also can manifest with congestive heart failure in infants. And also metabolic causes like hypoglycemia, hypocalcemia, and even perinatal asphyxia or neonatal asphyxia by causing hypoxic injury to the heart leads to congestive heart failure. Next, coming to the acquired heart diseases and congenital heart disease. Among the congenital heart disease, shunt lesions and obstructive lesions, outflow obstructions and inflow obstructions, and other metabolic causes. But in coming to the acquired heart diseases, acute hypertension, it's not the chronic hypertension, acute hypertension, sudden onset of hypertension in pediatric case group. What are the causes? Who is roll number 56? Roll number 56. Absent? Roll number 57. Roll number 57.
Ma'am,
Roll number
57.
56. 57. I'm taking the attendance because most of you are just joined and leaving also. That's why I will take personally. 57 is present. So name some causes of acute hypertension, at least one cause. All of a sudden the child will develop hypertension. Name one or two conditions. Very common also. Pediatric body will see. Anybody? What are the causes of acute hypertension in pediatric case group? Because unless you know there are causes of acute hypertension which can in turn lead to congestive heart failure, or will you suspect? Unless you know the cause, you won't suspect that the child might be having hypertension and also associated with this condition. Anybody?
Vasospasm.
Ayesha, roll number 5. Who is talking? Vasu? Roll number 5.
Vasospasm, ma'am.
Vasospasm. Due to what? That's a mechanism what you are telling.
Exposure to cold, like
Acute hypertension.
Fluid overload, ma'am.
Fluid overload. Okay. Anything else? Acute hypertension.
Renal disease.
Like, be specific. Renal disease.
Ma'am, acute renal failure.
Glomerulonephritis.
Glomerulonephritis. Anything which manifest with GE and renal problem also child may develop acute hypertension. It's related to gastroenteritis and renal and hematology. I given a clue. Recently also we had the class, I think 1 month ago. HUS. What is HUS?
hemolytic uremic syndrome.
Hemolytic uremic syndrome.
Hemolytic uremic syndrome. Then in that condition also there will be acute hypertension. So acute hypertension conditions are most common is HUS and acute glomerulonephritis or acute post-streptococcal glomerulonephritis. And arrhythmias, especially tachyarrhythmias and also bradyarrhythmias also can cause congestive heart failure. Like tachyarrhythmia, supraventricular tachycardia is the most common, and complete heart block. Complete heart block means heart rate will be less than 60 per minute. That also leads to congestive heart failure. Is there any anybody can answer congenital complete heart block cause? congenital complete heart block cause? This is a question for NEET exam for PG. Congenital complete heart block, what could be the cause? That means newborn baby will have continuous heart rate less than 60 per minute. Whatever you do, it won't rises above 60 per minute. So you won't.
Ma'am, a congenital cardiac tumor.
No, it's due to maternal SLE. If the mother is suffering with SLE, the newborn baby will have congenital complete heart block. If you won't treat, the baby develop congestive heart failure and can lead to mortality. And acute rheumatic carditis and chronic rheumatic valvular heart disease can cause congestive heart failure. Carditis with cardiomegaly and congestive heart failure, one of the complications of acute rheumatic fever. And chronic rheumatic valvular disease, especially regurgitant lesions or severe critical stenosis, can lead to congestive heart failure. And Kawasaki disease, infective myocarditis, like especially viral myocarditis, that's why we're more bothered about bronchiolitis. Usually bronchiolitis won't cause mortality, but if it is associated with viral myocarditis, this viral myocarditis will lead to congestive heart failure. That could be the cause for death in case of bronchiolitis. Otherwise, a simple disease with mild to moderate breathlessness only child will have. But we have to watch for the myocarditis and bronchiolitis. They will manifest with tachycardia, and if you take a ECG, low amplitude waves will be there, and heart sounds will be muffled. If you auscultate, muffled heart sounds will be there. So we have to diagnose early, and if you treat myocarditis, we can prevent the death due to congestive heart failure in case of viral myocarditis. Like bacterial causes, like even streptococcus, staphylococcus can cause infective myocarditis, or other bacteria also, and parasitic myocarditis. These are the infective myocarditis we have to watch for as a complication in infections. And toxic myocarditis, especially common with scorpion venom, scorpion sting. Cause of death in that condition is also due to myocarditis with congestive heart failure. They will manifest with pulmonary edema, scorpion venom. And also some drugs can cause toxic myocarditis. Dilated cardiomyopathy. Metabolic and endocrine abnormalities. Metabolic, as I told, hypocalcemia, hypoglycemia can cause congestive heart failure. Endocrine abnormalities. Any endocrine abnormality can manifest with congestive heart failure. Roll number 1. Who is roll number 1? Absent. Roll number 2.
Hypothyroidism.
Hyperthyrotoxicosis or hyperthyroidism can cause congestive heart failure. And nutritional causes like beriberi, that is beriberi, and severe anemia. At what HB levels anemia can cause congestive heart failure? Not at 11 or 12, no. So at what HB levels anemia manifest with congestive heart failure? With normal heart, what is the HB levels? With defective or diseased heart, what is the HB level? Can produce congestive heart failure.
Less than 5
Less
mm
than 6.
Hg. 5%.
Less than 5 in normal.
Less than 5 grams per deciliter in case of normal heart. That means structurally normal heart. The HB is less than 5 grams. They will manifest with congestive heart failure. The structurally abnormal heart like VSD, moderate to severe
7.
VSD, or
Less than
ASD, or
7.
PD, less than 7, just with congestive. Who answered this question? Who is this? Name. I want the name.
Divya
Who
ma'am.
answered the correct? Be loud.
Divya ma'am.
Divya, good. Next, secondary to pulmonary causes like core pulmonary. What could be the cause for core pulmonary in case of pediatrics? In adults, COPD and all those causes will be there. In pediatrics, what could be the cause for core pulmonary? Especially in upper respiratory obstruction also can lead to core pulmonary, and also cystic fibrosis. Inherited problem. There also they will develop core pulmonary and leads to congestive heart failure. Okay. So next, this is for your Viva purpose, and for your future entrance purpose. If you can remember, or otherwise, like I will tell, in first 1 week or first 24 hours, what are the most common causes for congestive heart failure in pediatric case group means non-cardiac causes like perinatal asphyxia, hypoglycemia, hypocalcemia, and anemia, even polycythemia. Anemia also can cause congestive heart failure, and polycythemia, that is PCV, more than 65% also can cause polycythemia in newborn, especially 24 hours of life. And sepsis, neonatal sepsis also can manifest with congestive heart failure. And after that, the pulmonary and mitral aortic atresia are critical stenosis, not mild or moderate. Critical means very severe, very critical stenosis, and atresia of the valves, pulmonary, mitral, and aortic valves can lead to congestive heart failure in the first 72 hours of life. And extreme heart variations, as I told you, complete heart block, especially congenital complete heart block associated with maternal SLE and paroxysmal atrial tachycardia can lead to congestive heart failure. And one more common thing, as I told you, hypoplastic left heart syndrome. If any babies developed congestive heart failure, means we have to look for these causes in first 1 week of life, like hypoplastic left heart syndrome, TGA, that is transposition of and malposition of great arteries with poor mixing. There is no VSD or ASD or PDA. Then they manifest with congestive heart failure, and usually mortality will be very high. And next 1 to 4 weeks of life, that is first 1 month, transposition, same TGA, that is transposition malposition complexes, transposition malform, endocardial fibroelastosis, and coarctation of aorta. That's why we have to palpate the all pulses, including femoral and radial and brachial pulses, cerebral pulses. So we have to look for any radiofemoral or brachofemoral delays there. Next 1 to 2 months. Same transposition malposition complexes, endocardial cushion defects. As endocardial cushion defects means there will be primum or secundum type of ASD. Primum type of ASD with mitral valve incompetence, that is mitral regurgitation will be there. They will manifest clinically like that, endocardial cushion defects. And BSD, because after 6 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks, systemic vascular pressures will be more, systemic side pressures will be more than compared to the pulmonary vascular pressures and right-sided pressures. So left to right shunt will be more, then only VSD and PDA and TAPVC, that is total anomalous pulmonary venous connection, and ALCAPA means anomalous left coronary artery origin from pulmonary artery. These will manifest with congestive heart failure. So until then, usually VSD or PDA, TAPVC, and anomalous left coronary artery from the pulmonary artery won't manifest with congestion. Most common, if there is a congestive heart failure in less than 1 month of age, means we have to think about metabolic causes, or severe atresia or stenosis of valves, or coarctation of aorta, hypoplastic left heart syndromes, and TGA complexes. Okay, like that you can remember. After 1 month, we have to think about VSD, PDA, and TAPVC, these things. In 2 to 6 months, same TAPVC, that is transposition malposition complexes, continues along with VSD, PDA, TAPVC, that is total anomalous connection of pulmonary venous connection, and aortic stenosis, coarctation of aorta. So these are the causes depending upon the age of the manifestation of congestive heart failure. If you can remember for average or below average students, just mention some of the causes at least. This is for entrance. Entrance means all of the below or all except, like that we give. So you have to remember each and every condition for your PG entrance purpose. So important things, as I told you, arrhythmias, especially tachyarrhythmias, if the heart rate is above 180 per minute, always it precipitates the heart failure. That's why you have to treat the tachyarrhythmias first. And if it is persisting for more than 36 hours, 20% of the tachyarrhythmias will manifest with. Excuse me?
What happens in hypoplastic left heart syndrome?
Hypoplastic left heart syndrome means left heart will be hypoplastic, very small. So capacity to receive the blood will be less. And also heart functioning also, it can't contract more because very less cells. Hypoplasia means few cells are there, space is also less. So receiving the blood is also less, and contraction of the heart is also less. So they will manifest like shock immediately, because shock means decreased cardiac output, leads to very feeble pulses, prolonged capillary refill time, and congestive heart failure. within first 24 hours to 48 hours. And mortality very high even in sophisticated centers also. They have to correct immediately with due precautions. So mortality of that baby, 24 hours or 48 days baby with open heart surgery they have to do. That's a very highly that's why if it is diagnosed early in the fetal life, they will go for termination. Otherwise, they have to be prepared for surgical correction and should be done within like very sophisticated centers like AIMS Institute, like those central institutes only. They will do correction within first 24 to 48 hours with mortality, very high mortality. So hypoplastic left heart syndrome, they will manifest with shock-like picture because of feeble pulses, low volume pulse, and prolonged capillary refill time, and congestive heart failure. So need immediate correction. Then only we can save the child. Otherwise, we can't. Not be treated with medical treatment of congestive heart failure. Okay. Next, tachyarrhythmias. 50% of the tachyarrhythmias, if it's not treated for 48 hours, will manifest with congestive heart failure. So actually, this congestive heart failure with hypoplastic left heart syndrome, which comes under drug-resistant refractory congestive heart failure. We call it refractory congestive heart failure. They won't respond to drugs. Surgical correction should be done immediately. But in case of BSD and PD, all those conditions, we can manage with the decongestives, and later we can plan for the surgery. There will be time for the correction. With the normal heart, as I told you, hemoglobin already Divya answered. Hemoglobin level of 5 grams per deciliter can result in heart failure. That's why we have to give treatment immediately whenever we observe a child with HB of 5 grams per deciliter. And that too, we should not give whole blood. What type of blood we have to give? If there is severe anemia and impending congestive heart failure, packed red blood cells, packed RBC or packed red blood cells. Very low volume only we have to give 10 to 15 ml per kg over 4 to 6 hours slowly, and we have to give Lasix before starting the blood transfusion, or in between the transfusion, or at the end of the transfusion, to prevent the volume overload on the heart. In the case of disease that like some valvular lesions or septal defects are there, means even with 7 to 8 grams of HB also they will manifest with congestive heart failure. Next, coming to clinical features, these are very important. When we have to suspect a child or the newborn or infant is having congestive heart failure, means unless you know the clinical features, this is I always tell your people that you have to be perfect with clinical features. Unless you know the clinical features, that is symptoms and signs, you will never be in a position to diagnose any case. So unless you know the symptoms, then only we'll think, oh, maybe that child or that newborn may be having congestive heart failure. Then what are the causes? How to treat comes later. How to diagnose. So always read perfectly regarding the clinical features of each and every medical condition, whether it is disease or medical disorder. So here comes symptoms in case of infants. Infants usually less than 1 year of children, they will present with poor feeding. Usually mother will tell, my child is not taking feeds properly, only less volume the child is taking, or child is having tachypnea, fast breathing whenever tries to take the feeds. Because this like tachypnea with feeding means grade 3 breathlessness, NIHA's classification. So that's a routine activity actually. Child has to take the feeds. That's a routine activity for the newborn or infant. But with the routine activity, the child is having daily activity, child is feeling tachypnea and breathlessness, means a grade 3. Even a test also child is having, means that is grade 4. It's not, we can observe the retractions, and child is crying excessively, means because child is irritable because of less feed intake and also increased metabolic need in case of congestive heart failure. So heart has to pump, work with heart, so it needs more oxygen. So demand is more and intake is less. So they will feel hungry and they will be irritable continuously. They can't take feeds also. So and continuously child will be crying. That is one of the symptoms they will come. And child is unable to gain weight because of poor intake of feed and metabolism. Demand is more. So catabolic state. So poor weight gain and excessive perspiration over the forehead. Why there will be excessive perspiration over the forehead? Pavan. Pavan is there?
Heart's failure of the heart.
Why in case of why? That's a symptom of congestive heart failure. Why the child with congestive heart failure, especially infants, will present with excessive perspiration, that is excessive sweating over the forehead, especially while taking feeds. Mother will tell initially only while taking feeds. Afterwards, even at rest also they will have. Why? What is the mechanism, pathogenesis underlying this? Perspiration, sweating means there is increased activity of autonomic or sympathetic activity.
Sympathetic.
Sympathetic activity. It's a counter-regulatory. Initially, neurohormonal mechanisms try to compensate the, because sympathetic activity increasement, it increases the heart rate and the contractility of the heart. It's as a compensating mechanism in the early stages. Sympathetic hormones will
Cardiac output.
to increase the cardiac output by increasing heart rate and contractility. For that purpose, the sympathetic hormones will increase. That will be manifest with excessive perspiration of the forehead. So this is more common in infants. And also this tachypnea with feeding will lead to suck rest cycle. The baby will suck and again stops, takes rest, again sucks. That is called a suck rest cycle. That's also they will tell. Unable to take feeds continuously for 15 minutes. Usually newborns and infants will suck continuously for 10 to 15 minutes, but they are only taking for 1 minute and stopping 1 minute again, like that. Suck rest cycle is also one of the clue to you that the child might be having tachypnea due to congestive heart failure. Next, in case of older children, shortness of breath, which increases with the activity. Whenever they want to go and play, they will have breathlessness initially. Even then, even for routine activities to go to bathroom or wash bath and all those also they will manifest. So shortness of breath, which increases with the activity, easy fatiguability, puffy eyelids, swollen or pedal edema. These, when the child is able to walk or able to stand up, then only they will have pedal edema. But in case people who are especially infants and people who are in lying down position, sacral, they may manifest with facial puffiness and sacral edema. Dependent area edema will be there. So this is a counter-regulating mechanisms or compensating mechanisms in the early stages of congestive heart failure. Whenever congestive heart failure, decreased pumping ability or decreased venous filling into the heart. So they will have decreased cardiac output. This will lead to increased counter regulatory mechanism like sympathetic tone will be increased, angiotensin, mineralocorticoid hormones will be increased, inflammatory mediators will increase. This all will lead to failure to thrive, decreased food intake. So this in turn leads to cardiac remodeling. So if you won't interfere, this leads to chronic congestive heart failure. So heart failure again acute and chronic also. So this is the vicious cycle. Signs, symptoms we already discussed. What are the signs? What you observe? Compensatory response to impaired cardiac function will lead to sympathetic overactivity. That leads to tachycardia. Tachycardia leads to gallop rhythm, and the pulses will be because of decreased cardiac output, weak, thready pulse, increased sympathetic activity, discharges leads to growth failure, and perspiration or excessive sweating, and cold, wet skin. And if you observe the X-ray, there will be compensatory dilatation leading to cardiomegaly in the chest X-ray. And other signs, especially in the right-sided heart failure, hepatomegaly will be there, and that too usually tender hepatomegaly. Absence of, but hepatomegaly does not exclude the congestive heart failure. If there is a heart progressive, and this also hepatomegaly will be progressive. If you mark the lower border of the liver, you can see that it's progress increasing in size and also tenderness. Whenever you touch the liver, child will cry. So tender progressive hepatomegaly, but absence won't exclude congestive heart failure. If present, will give clue to you. And anterior pedal edema in case of older children, and facial puffiness and puffy eyelids and distended neck veins. But this only we can observe in older children, not in infants and newborn, because short neck will be there in newborns. So we can't look for the JVP. And also subcutaneous fat in the neck also will be more in case of newborns and young infants. So distended neck veins are not a sign in case of infants. Only when older children and adults only we can see the distended neck veins and JVP. And coming to the left-sided failure signs due to pulmonary venous congestion, they will manifest with tachypnea, dyspnea, and exertion. If it is more, then they will manifest with orthopnea. Whenever they lie down, they will have dyspnea. In newborns and infants, we can observe this as equivalent to mother or grandmother will tell that whenever the baby is held in against the shoulder in proper position, baby feels comfortable and decreases the cry and cough. There is a cough also. Usually, sometimes congestive heart failure present with cough and breathlessness. So this breathlessness, tachypnea, and cough will be decreased whenever child is held against the shoulder, and our child is more comfortable in sleeping only in proper position held against the shoulder. That is equivalent to orthogonal that we have to take history. If they are giving that, we have to give importance to that. And wheezing and pulmonary characters and examination. Next, coming to the investigation. So, are you clear up to the symptoms and signs? This is very, very important. Most commonly, they will ask etiology. So, if you list out some causes, it's more than enough for your theory or practical purpose. But why are listed all those means for your entrance purpose in the orals? If you are answering well, they will ask further questions. And but symptoms and signs, all of you should know. And all symptoms and signs you have to remember, because we can't say every child or every person will manifest with all symptoms. Some people will manifest with some symptoms and some people with some signs. Okay, so these symptoms and signs all of you has to remember. Next, coming to the investigations. Once you suspect the child might be having congestive heart failure, how will you confirm your diagnosis? If you take a chest X-ray, usually cardiomegaly will be there. But absence of cardiomegaly, usually it rules out the congestive heart failure, because all congestive heart failure usually they will have cardiomegaly. Usually, if you take the cardiac risk ratio, will be more than 60%. Always indicates cardiomegaly. And ECG usually limited role for diagnosis of congestive heart failure, but it gives clue to your diagnosis. Like myocarditis, there will be low amplitude waves will be there. And in case the tachyarrhythmias, you can pick up by ECG only. And bradyarrhythmias also you can pick up by looking at the ECG. And these clues will be given in ECG. And but echo is a confirmatory used to confirm your diagnosis, to find out the cause and monitor the treatment of congestive heart failure. Especially, we look for the ejection fraction. This is improving, means cardiac function is improving. And also underlying cause also we will be knowing by echocardiography. Then we will further plan for the surgical correction of the underlying cause. So what are the principles of management or treatment? Main specific treatment of the cause for congestive heart failure, like if there is an infection, we have to treat the infection in case of toxic myocarditis, or if it is associated with scorpion sting associated myocarditis, we have to treat with treatment prazosin and other decongestive measures. And if severe anemia, we have to correct the anemia with packed RBC slowly. Like that, precipitating cause, first we have to note, or if it is associated with metabolic disorders like hypoglycemia, hypocalcemia. Unless you treat the metabolic cause, the child may not recover with congestive features. So you have to know the underlying cause and try to correct it, whether it is metabolic or infective or hematological cause. Immediately you have to correct. And we have to know any structural abnormality is there, then we have to plan for the later correction. And we have to improve the oxygenation by giving oxygen supplementation and nutritional support to maintain the growth of the child. Especially in case of congestive heart failure children, we have to give calorie dense food, because they can't take more fluids or more food because of tachypnea and breathlessness. And so, and they need more calories because of increased work of breathing, and also cardiac needs are more. So we have to increase the calorie dense. We have to give the calorie dense food by increasing calories by adding ghee or oil. And anticoagulants, especially in case of dilated cardiomyopathy. Whenever chronic dilatation of the heart is there and bradyarrhythmias are there, heart is pumping very slowly. So there will be stagnation of blood and more chance of thrombus in the cardiac chambers itself. So that may dislodge and leads to severe problems. So you have to give anticoagulants in case of dilated cardiomyopathy and bradyarrhythmias. So what are the principles, main treatment pharmacological principles? You have to decrease the preload, especially in case of preload conditions. We have to use diuretics to control the excessive salt and water retention. And among the diuretics, loop diuretics are more preferable. Inotropes to improve the cardiac contractility. Among the inotropes, digoxin and dopamine, jobitumen we will use. Still, if it is not controlled, then only we'll go for epinephrine and milrinone in severe cardiac failures. Next, afterload reducing agents like ACE inhibitors, angiotensin 2 receptor blockers, and vasodilators, all will come under drugs which reduce the afterload. Next, beta blockers, usually they will use in adults. Pediatric case group, very less indications are there. There is still research is going on to include the beta blockers as a treatment in case of pediatric congestive heart failure. These beta blockers will be used for the chronic congestive heart failure, not in acute status. Mainly, these beta blockers will act on the compensated neurohormonal changes. by reducing the cardiac remodeling. That's why it is used in cardiac chronic congestive heart failure, not in acute states. So coming to the diet, mainly salt restricted diet. It's very difficult to implement in pediatric age group, but parents has to try to decrease the addition of extra salt to the diet of the child and avoid pickles and those junk food and those to restrict the salt intake. So how much salt the child can be taken? 2 to 3 milliequivalents per kg per day only, and they have to maintain the calories at least 100 to 120 kilocalories per kg per day in the diet of the child, and iron supplementation in case of mild to moderate anemia. Next, coming to digoxin, is very important drug, but it's a very dangerous drug. Whenever any person, when you become surgeon or resident in medicine or pediatrics or any emergency medical department, while you are calculating the digoxin, it's a fundamental. Some fundamentals all of you should remember, whatever specialty will do, because it's a very narrow therapeutic range drug. Doses may vary, so 2 separate persons has to calculate before giving the digoxin. That's a fundamental. Can lead to severe arrhythmias, can lead to mortality also. So simple precaution is 2 different persons has to calculate the digoxin dose, then confirming the right dose, then only they have to be given this drug. So it's weak inotrope, slows ventricular rate, especially in atrial fibrillations, and decreases the sympathetic drive. And how it acts means mainly by acting on sodium pump inhibition, that sodium ATPase, which promotes calcium influx, which increases the intracellular calcium and increased contractility. That's one mechanism. One more under mechanism is it activates the parasympathetic mechanism and inhibits the sympathetic system, and inhibits the release of renin. These are the mechanisms of digoxin drug. That's why overdoses of digoxin will manifest with decreased heart rate. So whenever heart rate is less than 100 per minute, we have to stop the giving digoxin drug. Baseline heart rate we have to calculate, and baseline ECG also they have to take. So indicated only in chronic congestive heart failure with dilated left ventricle with impaired systolic function. What are the indication for the digoxin means? And definitive indication is chronic congestive heart failure with atrial fibrillation. And in congestive heart failure with sinus rhythm, it's the more important. So that leads, but only symptomatic relief, no change in the mortality, because it's a very dangerous drug. As I told you, narrow therapeutic. We should be cautious while giving this digoxin. Distylis toxicity can occur. Dose, if you can remember. But distalizing dose is 40 to 60 micrograms per kg per minute per total day. That has to be divided in 1/4 doses. Only 1/4 of the dose we will give initially. After 8 to 12 hours only second distalizing dose will be given, and maintenance dose will be 1/4. That's the maintenance doses for preterm is 10 to 20 micrograms per kg orally, and in case of term babies 20 to 30 micrograms per kg. So that's why we should be cautious whenever giving the preterm babies and persons with congestive heart failure in renal failure and hepatic failure. And IV, if the child the person is unable to take orally, this is the micrograms, not the milligrams. Should be very cautious while calculating the dose. That also is in the micrograms or milligrams. So very particularly you have to see the dose, because micrograms not in milligrams. And IV doses will be 70 to 80% of the oral dose is the distalizing dose. And ideal serum therapeutic level is 1 to 2 nanograms per ml. So risk of toxicity is high with levels more than 2 nanograms per ml. And should be cautious and have to reduce in case of renal dysfunction and hepatic dysfunction also. There are some contraindications to digoxin. You should not use. Absolute contraindications are there. Relative contraindications are there. These are also for your entrance purpose and students who are answering better. For those students you can remember. So indications all of you should know, but contraindications mainly if you are able to remember at least 1 or 2. Absolute contraindications are hypertrophic obstructive cardiomyopathy. HOCM means hypertrophic obstructive cardiomyopathy. Unless atrial fibrillation with severe myocardial failure is there, then only they will use. Very rare instances, absolute contraindication. And WPW syndrome, that is Wolff-Parkinson-White syndrome with atrial fibrillation, then also it's a contraindicator. You should not use. With congestive heart failure also should not use. Significant AV nodal block, diastolic dysfunction. These are the absolute contraindications for digoxin. This entrance bit. And relative contraindications are low output states like valvular stenosis, high output states like chronic carpulmonary and thyrotoxicosis should not use digoxin. That's relative. And in case of renal failure, and if you treat renal failure, if you reduce the dose, you can use like that. Next, coming to the diuretics. Usually by controlling the pulmonary plethora and pulmonary edema, peripheral signs and symptoms of congestion, diuretics will act and decreasing the salt and water retention. Mainly used ones are loop diuretics, and for that it can cause hypokalemia and exaggerate the symptoms of digoxin toxicity. Then we have to add potassium sparing agents like aldosterone antagonist, spironolactone. Dose of furosemide is 1 mg per kg per dose we can use. If you can remember, otherwise just mention the drugs names. Furosemide and chlorothiazide are usually used in case of congestive heart failure. Next, coming to the ACE inhibitors. These are 5 minutes. Mainly causing vasodilatation, they will act. But should be cautious while giving ACE inhibitors in pediatric case group. They can cause first dose hypotension. So that we have to keep in our mind whenever giving. So ask the child to lie down position only whenever first dose is given. And these drugs, especially captopril and enalapril, can be used. And beta blockers, actually there is no use in case of acute congestive heart failure. Only in case of chronic congestive heart failure only will use beta blockers in case of pediatric case group. So this used only after stabilization of acute heart failure. And these important recent ones are phosphodiesterase inhibition drugs like milrinone, and this can be used, but adverse effects it can lead to ventricular arrhythmias. And afterload reduction agents like sodium nitroprusside, nitroglycerin, iodinators, these will be especially whenever the BP should be, afterload reduction agents should be used whenever the blood pressure is normal or hypertension. It should not used in case of hypotension, because it further deteriorates the condition by vasodilatation. So this should be we have to keep in mind whenever you are using afterload reduction agents like vasodilators. Next, inotropic drugs like dopamine and dobutamine. But dopamine also you should use with starting with a low dose and should not be given more than 10 microns per kg per minute, because it can cause vascular increased vascular resistance. So only used in case of cardiogenic shock with hypotension. So in case of hypotension, we should not use vasodilators. Then you can use dopamine. Along with the further not controlled congestive heart failure is not controlled with only single inotropic agent. Then we can go for dobutamine. Mainly it's by primarily beta-1 agonist, and indications are cardiogenic shock with normal or high blood pressure, or inadequate response to dopamine. We can use dopamine and dobutamine. If, in case still not controlled, then we can go for epinephrine, and also in case of especially septic shock, epinephrine is the drug of choice. Dose 0.05 to 0.1 micrograms per kg per minute. So recent drugs are this phosphodiesterase inhibitors like milrinone and levosimendan. Structural malformations post-operatively, you can use these drugs. So there are device-based therapies, like we can use balloon, aortic balloon counter pulsation machines, and we can use sometimes fibrillate, cardiovascular defibrillators. We have to implant in the heart, especially when there is arrhythmias uncontrolled with your drugs. And finally, if still is not controlled, we have to go for ECMO, that is extracorporeal membrane oxygenation. Okay, any doubts? Anybody is having any doubts regarding congestive heart failure in pediatric case group? Main thing, you should know the definition, what are the common causes, how they manifest clinical symptoms and signs, how will you diagnose your suspected diagnosis confirmation, mainly by echo, congestive heart failure only symptom. After that, we want to know the underlying cause, we have to go for the metabolic screening and echocardiography. Then how to measure? Then just if you mention the drugs, group of the drugs, what are the afterload reducing drugs, what are the preload reducing drugs, what are the inotropes? If you mention, that's more than enough. Okay, any doubts? Pawan?
No, ma'am.
Pawan? Okay.
Ma'am.
Then I will leave. Any doubts are there? And you ask your friends any topics to be repeated, we will take in the next month. Okay, schedule.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, bye. వెళ్ళి పెట్టేసి వెళ్ళిపోతున్నారు చాలా మంది లేడు పిలుస్తుండే క్లాస్ లో మధ్యలో